What is up, everybody? I'm No Lex Given here with your afternoon snap, and today I'm going to be taking another look at Negative Wong, which is one of my favorite decks, but also a really good deck with Mojo World, which was the featured location yesterday. Talked about that a little bit in yesterday's video. This is a part 2 because I never actually got to showcase why this deck is so good with Mojo World, and to be honest, that trend kind of continued. I didn't have that much time to play and never really got to pull off a great game where Gambit was able to destroy a card in Mojo World and have that win me the game. Either things just didn't work out or my opponents would retreat, but this game starts off really good, at the very least. Turn 1 Bast into Psylocke into Mr. Negative. The perfect curve. Sokovia does not hit my Mr. Negative, so I get to play that on turn 3, and I will run that out into Mojo World. I didn't play into Mojo World before this, by the way, because I always like to keep one location fully open, so that way I can drop Wong plus Mystique plus 2 on reveal cards. So for that reason, I tend to keep Mojo World open to potentially play Wong there, until I know that I've got another location, and in this case Sokovia, that I can potentially drop those cards into. On turn 5, I'm just going to run out Iron Man, and then on the 6th turn, I'll be able to copy Iron Man with Mystique, plus drop Gambit, White Tiger, and maybe even whatever I draw next turn, depending on what that is. So things are looking pretty good for me this game, I would say, though my opponent is definitely not out of it. They're going to play a Serra on turn 5, and they'll get to drop a bunch of cards themselves. They're actually winning going into the final turn of the game, so they'll have priority, which means that we do potentially have to worry about Cosmo, though nobody's really running Cosmo right now, and it just means that Gambit is going to be more likely to destroy a card in Mojo World than any other location, so it probably will work out for us. And if we see what my opponent plays, they play 3 more cards into Mojo World, so we're 50-50 to hit a card in Mojo World here, which will potentially win us the game, though it is still going to be close. My opponent is currently winning in Fisk Tower, and I'm going to pause it right after all of their cards have flipped up here so we can see what our options are. So Hit Monkey, if we hit that, if we hit the Hit Monkey, we will win because we will have a higher... because we've got the White Tiger coming out. So White Tiger will either win us the game in Fisk Tower, or it will still lose us the game by going in Sokovia. We'll actually be losing in the tower and in Sokovia. So there's a lot of RNG going on in this final turn. But if we kill the Hit Monkey, then we win in Sokovia. If we kill any card in Mojo World, we'll win in that location. So let's see what happens. Or we could potentially tie in Sokovia. That's the other thing. Mystique is going to copy that Iron Man, so that's going to give us a lot of power in Mojo World, though my opponent with a little bit more power with Angela and Bishop, as we'll see in just a second. White Tiger does go into the Fisk Tower, which means that we are now winning in Fisk Tower. So here's the point. This is really where I should have paused it. If we kill the Hit Monkey, we win the game because we will be winning by 11 in Fisk Tower, down by 2 in Mojo World, and we'll have a bigger total differential. If we kill any card in Mojo World, then we'll win Mojo World and Fisk Tower. The only things that we need to avoid here are Serra and the Beast, and of course that's where we go. So we do lose this one, unfortunately, though we were pretty likely to get the win here. We'll look at one more game in this video, and in this one, Bar with No Name is the first location, but Starlight Citadel is location number 2, which is going to potentially punish my opponent. We don't know where that bar is going to go, but either way, we both know that Bar with No Name is currently a safe location. Bar with No Name actually a pretty good location for this deck because you can also just straight up win it with Mr. Negative, though it can get awkward with Ironheart triggers and Tiger triggers and even Gambit triggers flying around at the end of the game. You could potentially randomly lose that location too. So a little bit silly. On turn 3, I'm just going to play Crystal because I don't know exactly where I want to commit this Wong to, but we do find Mojo World as location number 3, which makes it a very interesting game. There's like a location you don't want to play to, a location that you really want to play to, and then Starlight Citadel to mix it all up. So this is definitely a fun one. And then on turn 4, I get to drop a Bast and a Wong, and the nice thing about Wong here in the center location is we can still lose this location. My opponent is probably not going to spend all of their energy every single turn, so they're probably still going to beat us in Starlight Citadel, which means that they will lose if that location becomes Bar with No Name. So I feel good about this. We're going to Bast and power up all of the cards in our hand. It gets a nice additional power there. Then my opponent hits me with a Maximus. So we are having maximum card draw this game. We've got all the options, and we do also find ourselves with a lead in Bar with No Name. We just have to figure out how we are going to end this one and hope that Gambit doesn't destroy all of my opponent's cards in Bar with No Name. This is a little bit late in the game, by the way, to draw the Mr. Negative, so probably not going to worry about that. I just have to decide, okay, am I going to go for the Iron Man somewhere? That's a ton of power. Do I want to set up with the Mystique into Bar with No Name, which doesn't add any power. We actually didn't Bast the Mystique, so I could just Mystique the Wong this turn. I think that that would be fine, though. I don't want to go full Gambit. I don't want to destroy my opponent's entire board. That feels a little bit awkward because then we might lose in the Bar with No Name. So kind of trying to avoid that. My opponent hits me with Enchantress into Mojo World to turn off my Zabu, which is like great for me because they didn't turn off my Wong. So I am more than happy with that. And then we just have to figure out how we're going to end this one. We could end it with White Tiger. We could end it with Mystique into Mojo World or into the Starlight Citadel plus Gambit. Ironheart, like I said, a little bit awkward just because it could accidentally allow me to win in Bar with No Name, but importantly, I can Gambit into Bar with No Name and still be losing that location. So I Mystique my Iron Man, that'll put me up to 14, and then a double Wong. My opponent doesn't even play to Starlight Citadel, so we'll definitely win that location. Then we'll probably win Mojo World, and we do, except wouldn't you know, okay, yeah, one more Gambit trigger. Yeah, it's a Kang game. So, once again, we are not actually, I mean, technically, this one feels like it counts. I did use Gambit to grab a win in Mojo World, just my opponent was able to see it coming, so they're going to be able to retreat before I can do it for real the second time. That's going to be it for me today. Thank you guys very much for watching. I'm No Lux Given. Peace.